Hello, and welcome to a new episode of From the Honeycomb, a podcast that creates a spark of positive energy in your home to design, architecture, yoga, meditation, and travel. I've created this podcast as a place to come for design inspiration and especially to learn about Vastu Shastra with a modern approach. I am your host, Katerina Burinova, and welcome to From the Honeycomb. Today, I sit down with Julie from Aloha Lovely to talk about embracing the challenges of running a small business and navigating the world of social media. Julie shares with me how she's built her brand and how it's evolved since she launched her blog, Aloha Lovely, in 2016. So let's dive in.
All right. Well, welcome to From the Honeycomb, Julie. I am so excited to have you on today because I guess to introduce you, our relationship goes back, I think, to 2017, if I remember correctly. I had a blog, Dream of Adventures, and you had a blog, Aloha Lovely, which you have. And I remember I started to follow you, and we kind of had a little relationship. I know I bought some of your shirt, the Passionately Curious shirt, which I'm also wearing the Foxy Lady shirt today.
Love it.
And I think you also had this beautiful skirt, which I still have, with Hawaiian flowers. And so then I kind of moved away from blogging, picked back up with podcasting, reached back out to you. And I am so proud of you and happy for you that you are still going with Aloha Lovely and you've grown and you have just these beautiful designs. And so yeah, I guess that's my introduction of you. So, Julie, I'm super happy that we finally get to connect.
I know. Thank you so much. Yeah, I remember back in the kind of trying to figure out blogging and what all of that was, that I was dabbling in a bit of product design at the time, and you had bought the shirt and the skirt, and it was so special and important at the time because I was kind of trying a lot of different things, and the product design hadn't kind of come to like full fruition of like what I really wanted to do yet. And just to kind of get that support in the early days from someone, and then you're sharing kind of photos of you wearing this stuff, and I remember you looked amazing in it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and it was just, I mean, that was special. And I remember, I think we were part of like a blogging kind of like support group. You know, we were kind of support each other as bloggers and kind of trying to help each other's blogs grow. I would say right now I'm grateful for balance. So right now in this moment, and I think it's a kind of a constant imbalance, out of balance thing, just with, you know, family and work and life and Aloha Lovely and whatever I'm working on right now. I feel like I have a good balance of how I dedicate time to each thing and trying to I just have kind of a good balance right now. I know that could probably change tomorrow, but right now I am grateful for the balance of being able to kind of do all the things I'm passionate about.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's really special. I was going to say, for me right now, I'm very grateful kind of for our home and our apartment that we live in right now. There's something about just feeling really grounded in this moment, just because there's been so much going on and we've had some travel and we had exams and work has been busy, but having this home to come to, and it's just a really like safe space, it feels like, with all the craziness happening in the world. Like I come home and I can just kind of shut everything out, and it's just this like sanctuary that it's always kind of been a sanctuary, but for some reason I'm really honing in on the energy of like my home and just how safe I feel here.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I think sometimes we forget with how busy we are with whatever's going on in our lives that you need that safe downtime space and energy to balance you out, I guess. Kind of comes back to that. Yeah.
If you could share with the listeners your journey of starting from blogging to where you are now.
Yeah. So let's see. Back in 2016, I think, was when I started to kind of have thoughts of starting a blog or creating some sort of space where I had kind of complete creative control over things. In my 9 to 5, I work in advertising as a creative. So back then and still now, I still work in advertising as a creative, which is you're focused on creating work for whatever client you're working on. It has to go through multiple channels of approvals. Sometimes it doesn't
Mhm.
end up where you started. So I think for me, even though I enjoy my job in advertising and creating things, it's challenging, it's fun. I think I kind of craved a space where I had more like total control over the beginning and the end product. So I lived in Hawaii at the time. We've moved a couple times since then, but we still have connection to Hawaii because when we were there, we owned a home and we still own it. So I'm still like hopeful to get back there sometime soon. But yeah, so I was living in Hawaii and just kind of wanted to share that experience with people. So it kind of came from a space of like a lifestyle blog with sharing like adventures and restaurants, and there was a little bit of style in there and design stuff. So it was very lifestyle, and it's sharing all the things basically I found like lovely. So that's where the name kind of came from. It was kind of a take on Hello Beautiful, but then I was trying to kind of
Mm.
localize it a little bit and have that so Aloha Lovely. It's kind of sharing all the lovely things that I found or came across or created, which again kind of brought a little bit of sort of dabbling in some product design. But I think for me, it was like at that time, it was trying to do a lot of things and never really gaining a ton of traction with just one thing. So with blogging, creating my own content, and then, sometimes it evolves into being able to do sponsored content for other brands and did a bit of that. And then I don't know, I guess it kind of, with the blog part of it, kind of got to a point of like, I felt like I was still I got into a space where now I was still creating for others and not creating so much
Mhm.
for myself, and felt a little bit of kind of resistance to continue down that path. I think this was in 2019. And yeah, it was just, what do I want this to be? And I think another thing that was kind of pulling me down a little bit at that point was kind of the churn of social media. And
Mhm.
I don't know, that felt as almost like it's so time consuming. You get kind of sucked into this machine of creating content and getting out there and competing, and it becomes a pay to play thing. And I just kind of like, I started to not like how it was making me feel. So, I'm not sure if you can kind of relate.
Absolutely. I resonate with that so much. That's why I actually took a step back from Dream of Adventures. Is it was right around the time Insta stories rolled out,
Mm,
and it was like you constantly have to post what you're doing, and that's how you're getting followers. And I'm like, this is just a creative outlet for me. I don't need to, be influencing and showing everything I do, what I had for breakfast, all that. And it does become this all encompassing, where before it was you posted a photo and it got likes and comments, but then there just the level of how much you were kind of putting out there just got way too overwhelming. And it wasn't, yeah, you were just kind of on this hamster wheel, is what it felt like.
yeah, it's just this, I don't know, this sort of competing space, and it just started to feel less and less authentic to what I wanted
Hmm.
to share. And so I kind of, like 2019 going into, 2020, we all know kind of
Yeah.
how that threw a wrench in anything everyone was doing at the time. But it kind of was just, it was like, I don't know, maybe going from like sharing something or posting something every day to maybe just like a couple times a week to maybe just like a couple times a month, and just sharing things, the similar kind of things that I was sharing before. But I was kind of like, I just need to not feel like this is like such like sucking so much energy from me.
Hmm.
So it's kind of already like distancing myself a little bit. It was still like blogging and putting stuff out there, but I think it was more kind of like taking back my time and being like, I just felt like it was taking too much of my time. It was taking too much control of my attention. And
Hmm.
then I think it was fall of 2020, I was feeling kind of really like I just wanted to totally take a break from social media and not really know exactly what I wanted to do with Aloha Lovely. But I felt like something was still there. I didn't want to just be like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I still enjoyed a lot about creating content and sharing things and kind of like being in that space. And so I did kind of take a step back. I remember watching, there was that Netflix documentary, Social Dilemma. Did you ever
Hmm.
watch that?
I didn't, but I remember hearing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of came at the right time, and I watched
Hmm.
it. It made me even more just kinda like, "Now I just, like, need to take a break from what's going on and figure out what I wanna do, stop consuming so much, and kinda get back to creating
Hmm.
what do I wanna do." So anyways, that's kind of maybe a long-winded explanation of kind of going from blog to brand, which was
Hmm.
essentially I was like, "Why am I not" I'm designing products in my day job, that I'm really having fun
Hmm.
creating. Why am I not focusing on that for Aloha Lovely? Not saying I wouldn't ever go back to kind of creating content to go along with that, but why don't I just start like making things? And so, I spent a few months kind of trying to design and curate kind of like a launch sort of collection of like, I mean, these are like graphic tees and sweatshirts and stickers and just kind of like fun things, things that like
Mhm.
I would wear, and I would be like, I hope other people will like these things in sort of that, that context. But and so that's kind of, I guess it was end of March 2021 where I actually did kind of like I organized like a photo shoot for all my products and like actually officially launched it, like did a Shopify site and was kind of like,
Mhm.
okay, like go put this out in the world, which is kind of exciting because it feels kind of like, you never know kind of how your paths and it just felt to come. It came to like the right place at the right time. Maybe I wasn't ready for that when I was kind of dabbling in some product design a few years ago. When you had ordered something, I wasn't quite ready for that then, so I couldn't
Mhm.
focus on it. So yeah, so launched the shop, and so it's been about 18 months now,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean it's going pretty well. I definitely have like I've made a few pivots since then. I think like one of the biggest things of being a new business owner, any new business owner, is to expect like the unexpected, expect to have to pivot, like expect
Mhm.
that things aren't necessarily going to go exactly how you imagined, but like things are, you can always figure out a way.
Mhm.
And sometimes you just have to kind of adjust the way you're looking at something. But I mean, I guess pivot is kind of like a word that keeps coming to my brain because I've had to make a few of those. And I mean, at times it kind of might make you want to quit
Mhm.
and just be like, all right, great, this isn't the right thing. But if you take a step back and try to kind of, find a way to workshop it, you realize it's not as devastating of a problem as maybe you imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, it has been really cool to see you grow and like your designs. I really want to know like if you could walk us through the process of the designs you have because I was showing my husband the package you sent me, which I also have my cup with me as
Oh,
well. And I was telling him, I was like, oh, I connected with this woman like a couple of years ago and she has this just fun style. I said, oh, that really cute skirt I have and this. And when your designs came and I was showing him everything, I said, they're so unique and fun. They just make you feel good. And it's
oh,
kind of like a little bit of like an escape to just here's some fun colors. The font is great. Like, I would love to hear your kind of creative process too of how you come up with these designs.
yeah, I think so. Initially, things were very like inspired by Hawaii. I feel like even though I'm unfortunately not currently living there, I'm still like very connected to like the spirit of the Hawaiian Islands. And I guess, I mean, it's definitely, I kind of designed for my own eye of like things that I would wear. I'm also like I'm really inspired by like 70s aesthetic right now. So, like, including like the sort of messaging as well, like the positive messaging of things, as well as like the style of the typography. And just kind of, I get a lot of inspiration kind of like looking back at those like old vintage tees from the 70s and like the styling of them. Something that's really important to me is the actual using like the actual fabrics that I use. So I want someone to buy it like a tee from Aloha Lovely and it be like their next favorite tee.
Hmm.
That t-shirt that just makes you feel amazing and like it's so soft and comfortable and it's like you wear it once every week. You wear it like every week. It has to go in the laundry for like, the next week so you have it clean. So I guess that's kind of a goal, like creating a piece that someone's going to want to like wear for a really long time. It's not just like a disposable fast fashion kind of thing because I'm making each piece like in my home studio as of right now and for as long as I can do it. Like I create them here. So every piece is like I design it and I actually like press it on the shirt and you know what I mean? So it's very
Hmm.
handcrafted in that way, which for me feels like a special piece of it. So it makes me
No,
really
it's very,
happy to hear that I don't know, that you get some sort of like feeling out of it.
yeah, no, there is a personal touch. And the material, like I said, I'm wearing your Foxy Lady shirt right now. You have really great material. It's very breathable. It's super just soft. I've already washed it. I've wore it on Friday, I'm wearing it today. And it's a great material, great quality. And even the Passionately Curious shirt I have from now 5 years ago, it's been great condition. And I've worn it and worn it. And so how do you source the materials, like, and
So
fabric?
I was mentioning kind of like pivoting earlier.
Mhm.
And so when I started, I was going with I don't know if you're familiar with like a print on demand sort of.
Mm-mm.
process. So essentially, it could be someone creates their designs, and then you can place them for sale on your shop. And if you get an order, then that order will go right to like a print vendor that you set up a
Mm.
relationship with, and they will. It's kind of like they'll print off that one shirt for you and ship it right to your customer. And so it sounds
Mm.
like an amazing like way to go about it. You don't have to actually create the physical product yourself. You don't have to buy extra inventory. It's less risk. Your orders go right out to your customers. So I was like, that sounds amazing. You know what I mean? I can create the designs, I
Mhm.
can get the samples and make sure the quality is good. And then the orders go out. And so I started with that and trying to go the print on demand route. And I just ran into some obstacles with that where the quality wasn't high enough. I wasn't getting to see every single item going out there. I was just relying on the print partner to do it how I would do it and get it out to
Mhm.
the customer. And I had a couple of instances where the print was off center or there were little things. And they would always like address the issue with like, we'll just send out a replacement, which is great. But like if you're trying to build a brand, I'm not trying
Mhm.
that's not the impression I'm trying to give somebody that's spending money in my shop and they get something and it's not quite right. So that was like the first like kind of major pivot for me was I was like, I can't if I can't trust the vendors that are printing the things, because
Mhm.
I'll get like high stress about that. So I basically decided to bring all the production of the shirts and everything that I could produce into my home studio. So the first thing I did was I bought a heat press. So at first I like had to research like, is this even possible for me to do on kind of like a one woman shop, smaller scale, not get crazy. I'm still like working my day job. Like, how can I kind of
Mhm.
like work this into my life and grow something? And I found like basically you can press t-shirts with a heat press using
Mhm.
whether you use transfers. I actually do a process called sublimation, which is I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's kind of sciencey, which is actually kind of cool. Is you print out your design on sublimation paper, which is special printer, special paper, and then when you go to put the design on a T-shirt, the heat press actually turns the ink to gas, and then the gas infuses. It basically dyes the fabric of the T-shirt. So that's why when you go to feel the print design on your shirt, it just feels like you don't
Mhm.
feel anything. It's actually dyed the fabric, which is something that I thought was really cool. And I really liked that sort of seamless feel. You don't feel
Mhm.
it's not printed on top of the shirt, it's part of the shirt.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyways, I'm probably going into too much detail about this.
No, I love it. It's kind of cool to hear like where the clothing you wear, I know fast fashion is just
Yep.
I try to avoid that at all costs. I want to buy the quality over quantity.
Yep.
And so, actually, while Julie was talking, I was touching my shirt because she was explaining the process. Since listeners can't see me,
Yeah.
it is. It's amazing because you don't. I mean, you just wear the shirt. You don't think about it. So that's
Mhm.
why I'm also excited to have you on, is to like learn about the process and just you have a different appreciation for it when you hear how much kind of love has gone into it
Mhm.
so that the product is then it's just a personal touch, which I love.
Exactly. I mean, it is trying to create like a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or whatever that someone really loves and it becomes kind of like a part of their own personal style, something they go to. It's kind of yeah, and thinking about like fast fashion, I'm trying to do the opposite of that, which is also
Hmm.
when I source my like blank shirts is I'm looking for higher quality shirts and I'm sourcing them from places that have certain standards, whether environmental or like ethical, like that these boxes are checked. I'm not looking for the cheapest shirt I can find and how high can I mark it up to sell it to
Hmm.
someone. So it really is, I mean, that's really important to me. Like I said, I'm trying to make your next favorite tea essentially and then, infuse in that some positivity, some kind of cool like groovy like 70s sort of feel or maybe it's like I have a few kind of more like Hawaii inspired like I have the Aloha rainbow which is like that's really that one is kind of probably like one of the first things I designed. It's really obviously connected to Hawaii and yeah, it just kind of I'm trying to design something unique, something special. And yeah, I mean, people seem to be connecting with it, so it's exciting.
I love, no,
Mhm.
I love it. And so not only do you have teas, you have cups, like
Mhm.
little camping travel mugs. You had pillows at one point. Are you still doing kind of like a home decor? department?
I was doing more of a print on demand thing, and I actually did like how those had turned out. And that is something that you can also do with like the process I use in my home studio. I think for me, like it's really easy for me to get, I guess distracted might be the right word, of like all the things I could make, and I could do this and I could do that. And it's a constant kind of like, do I stay focused more so on just apparel? Do I expand out? And some of my,
Mhm.
so I think as far as in the future, like maybe I'm trying to not get too crazy with all the things I want to make. You know what I mean? Because then it is also
Mhm.
like, I think just like process wise and trying to kind of like keep track of what you're creating. I think it's also like, if something is working, do more of that. So for me, it's like, I think expanding when the time is right, maybe, but I'm trying to stay like a little bit kind of on top of like focusing on things because yeah, I could be like, oh, I could do cups and I could do this. And because yeah, I can do the camping mugs. I have a mug press. So all of those
Mhm.
same process as the t-shirts. It's like these, you have to buy special mugs that have a coating on them. And then the ink it's infused on there basically. So it's the same sort of process. And the camping mugs just really felt kind of right for the brand
Mhm.
to kind of focus on. But again, it's like I do water bottles or like tumblers or, it's like, so I guess I'm just trying to kind of keep it under control of like all the things I'm making right now, especially when it's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
the camping mugs are definitely fun.
No, and it does. It sounds kind of like a domino effect too. You're just like, oh, this look, I could do this, I could do that. But even though you kind of, I guess, dabbled in like different areas of products you can sell, you really seem to stay on brand as far as like your design. There's still, I guess you could say that aloha, like that positive, happy vibes. And so when you go to sit down to kind of come up with a design, what is your process? Are you more like, do you sketch something out or do you go straight to computer? Like, what is your kind of creative process?
Yeah, I mean, it's like both, I would say. I mean, sometimes I'll sit down with a sketchbook and just kind of like, sketch out things or ideas or a lot of times phrases. I feel like phrases on tees and kind of in that style with like a more kind of retro font is something I'm really into right now. So trying to kind of find those, what are those messages I kind of want to put out there? It could be something could inspire me that I saw on some like old tee, like from the 70s, if I'm poking around on Pinterest or something like that. So I would say sometimes it's sketching, sometimes it's going right, into designing an Illustrator or something and moving fonts around and trying different like playful. It could also be like a phrase that I remember from when I was little. Like there's a sticker I have that is easy peasy lemon squeezy. And it was like, I don't even know if like anybody else knows what it means, but I was like, I need to make a
Mm-hmm.
sticker out of this. So sometimes it's just little quirky things that are kind of, I feel like still kind of fit into the spirit of the brand. And then it's really just like for me, my process is I mean, because my day job is working on similar sort of things in the advertising world. And so it's sometimes I have a very obsessive eye when looking at things. So it could take a really long time for a design to get to a point where I'm like ready to actually put it out there. Even when I'll test things out on t-shirts and it just won't feel, it's like, it's not ready yet. It doesn't feel quite right.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to get to a point where I'm like really excited about it for me to actually put it on the site. So sometimes there's like an ebb and flow of like the release of new things. I'd like to release more things more often, but again, it's just kind of your creativity isn't always like on demand, right?
Right. No, it sounds like very organic growing. You're not, and it goes back to what we kind of talked about earlier on with like social media and when we were blogging and you're forced to do something, when you're forced to do it, the
Yeah.
creativity, kind of like not like writer's block, but like a creative block. So
Yeah.
you want it to organically come to you, not feel forced because then the outcome won't be right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want it to feel authentic. You want to feel good about it. I mean, you have to be excited about it to keep wanting to do it. It's still
Hmm.
work, but you got to feel some passion for it if you want to if you want it to grow. And like, and right now I'm happy growing slowly. Like that's all I can handle. You know what I mean? With everything else going on, I actually, well, I wouldn't call it pivot or evolution is I started to offer wholesale of my stuff. So my stuff can actually be found in boutiques now, which is really kind of exciting.
Yay.
Yeah. So, and a lot of them are in Hawaii, which is like very
Oh, cool.
ironic because I'm like not there right now, but I'm like, I'll just send my stuff there.
Yeah.
But that for me, the wholesale part of my business is kind of really driving things, which is great because there are wholesale platforms out there for brands that will connect you with boutiques. It's kind of like an Etsy, but for boutiques and brands. And although they will, for being listed on this marketplace will get a commission. I'm not having to put a whole lot of effort into making those connections. So that's another thing,
Hmm.
just like thinking about social media and how much do you have to do to get traction? How much time do you have to spend to get your name out there to make one sale or whatever? You know what I mean? To make one connection.
Hmm.
Whereas going wholesale, it's been kind of more, I like put my stuff on the marketplace and like boutiques can find me. And if they're interested, then they like place an order and then I make a connection and they can reorder. And so it's been really exciting to kind of get involved in that, even though it is a lot of work because you are selling things at wholesale cost and you are doing higher volumes. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
it's just, I think for me, it's such an important part of my business because also that's the way people have found my brand as well. So someone will order stuff from my shop and be like, "Oh, we were in Maui last weekend and I wanted to buy this sweatshirt and then I like didn't buy it, but then I found, I remembered your name and so I regretted not buying it, so I bought it from your site." So there's little things like that where people actually found me because they've seen my stuff in boutiques, which is
Hmm.
really cool.
Oh, that's really cool. And how is that feeling of like when someone connects to you like that? Like how do you feel?
I mean, it feels amazing because sometimes when I'm designing something, I'm like, "I love this. I would wear this." I mean, I'm designing for my ideal customer, but I'm kind of designing for myself. And sometimes I'm like,
Hmm.
"Is somebody else going to want to wear this?" All right, I'm just
Yeah.
going to put it out there, and then pretty soon, well, I wouldn't say pretty soon, but you'll see kind of like which of the items are starting to kind of resonate with other people. But yeah, it feels pretty amazing to have people reach out, and I mean the vast majority of people and customers that I've interacted with are just like they're just lovely people. Like I feel like putting the energy out there and like the right people are receiving it and then giving it back to me. That doesn't sound too cheesy. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's really exciting and it's encouraging too. It kind of keeps you going. Also, like if I'll get a wholesale order, I'm like, "Oh my God, like this is amazing." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I need to make all these things." So but yeah, I mean, I think that just comes down to being organized and you know what I mean? The kind of balance thing I was saying before and having time to do the different things so it doesn't feel like such a huge thing.
Hmm. And you have two daughters.
Mhm.
Do they participate in your process at all?
Um, they give me a lot of opinions. Um, a little bit. I mean, they're busy with their own thing. I think I get I do kind of like little focus groups with them, when I'm designing something
Mm.
new. But it is, they're teenagers, they're 14 and 16. So they're not necessarily into the same aesthetic I am, but they're both very creative and artistic in their own ways. And I guess I just hope that I'm setting an example for them as far as just kind of going after what you feel passionate about and you can build it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're the only one stopping you is you and that sort of sentiment. So I think because they see me, I'm still working advertising in the day. Early mornings I'm working on the shop, but I'm also like very disciplined in the sense of really trying to be like cognizant of time that I am spending on these things and not spending too much time away from them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think I'm trying to be very cognizant of that as well. I mean, they come first. Family comes first ultimately. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they would maybe want to get involved in the business after school. I mean, who knows? Maybe it would be grow to that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say if there the creativeness of any like collaboration, like that'd be kind of
Mhm.
cool to see too, just to see what
Yeah.
like their perspective is on like what their memories maybe of Hawaii too. So that would be something
Yeah.
interesting.
They
Yeah.
definitely will wear the stuff I make. So
Oh well.
I can get they'll take a free t-shirt or a hat, but yeah, it's good it humbles me though too.
Hmm.
Working on something, like look at it and be like, yeah, no, mom. But then I'm like, well, is that just you? Like, is it me?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a
No,
they're a tough focus group.
no, there. I can imagine. This is kind of when I like to ask, what would you like to leave the listeners with, just based on your journey with growing your business and the pivots and the evolving that you've experienced?
I guess it would be not to be discouraged when something doesn't go according to plan. It's gonna happen. It could be small, it could be big. I think for me it was the big pivot was kind of taking the creation of things in-house, and that was kind of one step. And that kind of brought in, I got the heat press, and then I got the printer, and then I would, so I could create designs whenever I wanted. I wasn't waiting on someone to send me something. And I think then also just thinking of other ways to approach it or look at something. When I expanded into wholesale, and that ended up being like something I didn't think I wanted to do, and it ended up being like a big driver of my growth. So I guess it's kind of like keeping your eyes open to alternative ways to look at a problem or a solution, and don't be discouraged. Any new thing you're working on, whether it's a new business or a new job or going to school, it's like there are going to be hard parts of it. It's just like, how are you going to kind of manage your way through it? So, expect the challenges, but don't let it stifle you. Continuing on would be my biggest thing. And it's like, you don't know what those like new, challenges are going to be that are going to pop up. But it's like,
No.
everything is, what is that phrase? Everything is workshoppable. Or I tell myself, I don't know.
Yeah.
Heard that somewhere.
No, absolutely. No, I love what you say, that, yeah, especially the learning curves and everything that comes along with it. You are clearly passionate about Aloha Lovely and the work you've created, and that really shows. And the care that you put into the products, I think, is very admirable.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you Julie, for coming on. I'll provide a link in the show notes for your website. And where can listeners find you?
You can visit the shop at Aloha Lovely Shop, and I'm on Instagram at Aloha Lovely Shop, and also TikTok at Aloha Lovely. Yeah.
Wow.
So find me on the TikTok. Trying not to embarrass myself in front of my kids. But yeah.
Oh, love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was so interesting to hear about the process of creating a label and the design that goes into it, and then pressing the label onto a shirt, to sourcing material, and then getting the end product to the customer. I am so appreciative of the work Julie does, and seeing how much love goes into the clothing that I've throughout the years have purchased and received from Aloha Lovely. And it really was so interesting. So Julie, again, thank you so much for coming on. Again, I will provide, as I mentioned, a link in the show notes. So do go check out Julie's shop. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please give it a heart or thumbs up, and click the follow button so you can stay up to date on the latest episodes. You can also follow me on Instagram at From the Honeycomb Podcast. Thank you so much, and see you next time.